with my withered smile on secret. May they never reach your ear. If my skin screams obscenity, may they never cause you tears. Oh.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in to the FST Improv interview. My name is Will Luera, Director of Improvisation here at Florida Studio Theater. And yes, just like that, a little technical flop right at the beginning. My apologies for the interruption of the music of Matt Walker, one of the cast members here at Florida Studio Theater, who provides us with much of our pre and post show music for our virtual shows over the weekend. So this is the Friday night show that we do. These are FST Improv interviews with teachers, leaders, directors, actors of improv from across Florida, across the country, and around the world. And every week we tackle a different topic in improv with my guest, but we also might talk about life and other things. As all of you know, this is one of 3 shows, virtual shows that we do here at FST. On Thursday nights, we do Impro Latinx, which is a Spanish-speaking improv. On Friday nights, we do these interviews, and on Saturday nights, we do our radio call-in show. Also, keep an eye out for some other shows that we're going to be bringing in and rotating through, including a storytelling, virtual storytelling, a virtual murder mystery show, and a few other things as well. So why don't we begin by welcoming our guest now. I met this person not in real life. In fact, I've still not met her in real life. We only know each other virtually, even though we have tons of friends in common. But I believe we first connected virtually back in March or April, and we've been working together regularly since. Definitely one of the people that when I first do get to see her in person, and when we all are clean and vaccinated, she will be getting a big old hug. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the Zoom stage, to the Zoom room. Let's hear it for Dana Shulman. All right, Dana, welcome.
Hi, Will. Will,
Hi.
I can't wait for that hug, and I also have this feeling from what I've heard that we might be about the same height, so it's going to be like the best.
It is. I was imagining it. That's what I'm thinking, that we're just about the same height. So I'm looking forward to that hug.
Me too. Hi, Will. Thank you so much for having me. I love your interviews, and I think you're fantastic.
Oh, thank you so much. It's really interesting to be on this side because I'm always on the other side. You're the one that's usually hosting the shows that I'm on.
I keep like checking the stream to make sure it's running, but I don't have to do that. That's your job right now. And I'm
did you see that little technical flub? I messed it up. I let the music stop playing.
Oh, no, I saw the technical flub, and then I assumed it was me screwing something up, and then I had a panic attack, and then I pulled it back together, and I was like, stop it, you're the talent today, Dana. Hi.
Hi. Well, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me. What a delightful honor.
So now there is a topic that I choose beforehand, but I'm not going to share it yet, but we'll get to it in a little bit. I like to surprise my guests with the topic of the week.
You also surprised me with the interview, so this is
I did, yeah. It's all been surprises. Originally it wasn't supposed to happen. I had something else. We had a gig booked. It was going to be an outdoor live gig, and then we kind of talked it over. We were like, why don't we postpone it? So we postponed it. So my night became available. And thank you so much for stepping in.
You have to know that it means that I think so highly of you because you sent me a message that said, "Hey, what are you doing hey, are you busy on Friday? Are you free on Friday at 7?" And I wrote back, "I think so." As opposed to if anyone else did that and I was like, "Oh, I might have this work thing. Why? What's up?" But I just I trusted. I was like, if Will wants me to be somewhere at 7 on Friday, I'm going.
Oh, thank you so much, Dana.
Oh, you're welcome.
And I look back at how we connected, how we got started, and I believe it was my ex-girlfriend Katie that first tagged my name or something.
I didn't know ex-girlfriend, but yes, Katie.
Yes, yeah. I've been, I don't know if you've seen me post on Facebook a number of pictures that I've been digitizing,
Yeah.
and there's some that I haven't posted, but I found pictures of her and I, and I'm like, hey, look what I found. It's from your senior year or something, and so it's been nice to reconnect with her. I still consider her a very good
Oh,
friend.
yeah. We when I started when we started Socially Distant Improv
Mhm.
in March, that week we tried to figure out. We were just on Instagram Live, right? And we tried to figure out how to do a jam. And we weren't streaming Zoom to Instagram Live. This is like early quarantine, like the 13th,
Yeah.
14th, 15th. And so we started doing jams by just one person sitting on the Instagram Live and like letting anyone request in. And someone
Yeah.
like random requested in. The first person I played with online that I didn't know who they were was a guy from Mexico named Rafa. And like I lost my damn mind. I lost my mind because like all of a sudden the comedy world had been like completely united and this, oh God, like birds were singing and like things were going off in my brain and fireworks overhead, and I like was so excited. And we decided like immediately that we wanted to help him be a part of a Spanish language improv show and stand up, and we were looking for Spanish speaking stand-ups. And then I posted about it on Facebook. Katie, who I work with at Opening Act, where we teach in New York City public schools improv, into performance, and she tagged you, and that's how we met. Thank you,
Oh,
Katie. Thank you, Opening Act.
now, going back, there's something that you just said about your comedy world colliding, or like the comedy world, like having some Rafa from Mexico, right? And then suddenly you being like, wow, there's no barriers to this. So that's been a big part of your mission, has it not?
Yeah,
Throughout this, it's kind of like breaking barriers down between theaters, between communities.
yeah. I just don't think. Ooh, Will. Oh God, what was the over under on how many minutes into this interview till I cry? I'm fine. Shaking it off. I cry a lot. I'm telling the world right now, I cry a lot, and I'm okay with it. I'm owning it. It's just this
Mm,
weird. I cry of happiness, anger, frustration, everything. Glee, laughing makes me cry. But what were we talking about? I just got
well,
excited about.
I am going to say that you're gonna like today's topic before, and I should say that
Oh,
the topics are randomly picked.
great.
So it wasn't like I was like, oh, this one's good for Dana.
Oh,
It
my
literally was
mission.
randomly picked. What was
My
that?
mission. Here's my mission.
Yeah,
My
but yeah.
mission.
Yeah.
This
So
is the
so
mission.
exactly.
I remember saying this early on, and I said, and it was like probably April or something. And I think I remember saying, if Tom Hanks can get COVID and the man who owns the hardware store across the street from me can get COVID, right? Then this is like the world's way of just saying that we are all just human beings. And why do we play in these weird hierarchies and, dare I say, politics, and live within these walls? And like, it's very lofty. It's bigger than this. We've talked about this for hours and hours and hours. And
Yeah.
and, uh, and it, and like, why shouldn't it be super encouraged that, a teacher from one school goes to teach a class at another school, or a performer from one school gets together with a performer from another school to do a show at, or school or theater or whatever, the words I'm using interchangeably.
Mhm.
um, I just like feel like the universe is telling us like, hey, you're all people. The president of the United States gets this disease. We're all humans. We're all in this together right now. And maybe we shouldn't be tied down with the like kind of BS of the stuff that's really unpleasant, about that can be really unpleasant in the comedy world, of like,
Yeah.
of like um things that make me feel like high school again. And
Yeah.
you know, that kind of thing. Sometimes
What?
that happens, and
Well,
it seems silly. Does that make
I
sense?
mean, it does, and I think you should be commended, and you and the members of SDI, of what you have been able to do, and the way that you've brought a bunch of people together. My experiences, I've done a few shows, and you've invited me to do some shows, and of course the weekly forum has been absolutely amazing, and y'all are making some real change that's going to last after all this is done. Maybe one day there will be no more weekly forums or all these virtual shows, but the dent has been made, the nudge has been made, and that's thanks to a lot of other work that you guys have done. So thank you.
Thanks. And a lot of the work that we've done is thanks to a lot of the work you've done, and you've been really inspirational to everyone and showing people how to like stay in their stay as communities as opposed to all of us just like going into our little quarantine bubbles and disappearing from the world. Yeah. Which also,
So
I think it's also really interesting that you and I both have endurance sports and improv in our blood.
yeah, no,
Yeah,
that's great.
they overlap a lot.
They do. Oh, they do. Yeah. I've oh, that's a whole other conversation. I'd love to talk about that. So today's topic, the one that came up, I put them all. There's a randomizer that I use. It started with 48 topics, and I've chipped away at about 12 of them. So yours is, and I'm going to just go double check.
Am I interview number 13?
4, 5, 6, 8, yeah, you are. Yep.
You just tell me I'm lucky number 13?
You are lucky on Friday the 13th. You are lucky number 13.
Oh, is it Friday the 3rd? Of course.
It is.
Am I getting cursed in the improv world right now? Okay, what is the topic?
The topic is, and it's simply, it's like a title for the week. And that title is, Tell Me How You Feel. So here's what that means. So this week's topic is specifically about the expression of emotion on stage. Okay, I know. So the expression of emotion on stage, and whether that is the actor expressing emotion or the character or the actor through the character, the authenticity of emotion on stage, but also the inverse of that as well, like the observation of emotion, right? As the recipient on the other end, seeing the emotion being played by your scene partner, okay, and then responding to that. So that is what today's topic is. Again, the title is Tell Me How You Feel, and the importance of expressing emotion on stage.
This is such a function of the new improv world, but I have a pad of paper and a pen next to, like, because I'm old now, and like I'm like, okay, can I focus? But like, because I teach, oh God, I love teaching virtual improv. I really love teaching virtual improv. But I can take notes and talk to them about the set, and it's great, and it makes me like want to take notes during my regular sets when I'm performing. But I wrote, Tell Me How You Feel. I want to start. I think it's really important to say that I think that I've been thinking a lot lately about this, about how, oh God. First of all, the first time my boyfriend is an improviser, and we met doing improv. His team did improv at my show. And the first time we were placed on a house team together, it might have been, no, the first time we were placed on a house team together, which did happen. In the very first set we were in, I walked on stage and I was like, strong emotion, strong emotion, strong emotion. And I slapped him across the face as like my initiating move.
Wow.
I am not proud of this fact, but I feel like it's something I have to remember, because I had this moment of like, oh, this is someone I have that level of comfort with, but it was a new team, right? Or it was like a moderately new team, but it's my boyfriend of 8 years. And, but it was my real emotion in that moment. I don't remember why I was mad, but it was a strange, awful thing that we had to really unpack later and apologize. I don't think it was as big of a deal as I'm making it out to be, but it felt like a big deal. It felt like I was really hugely angry. Like I didn't know who was going to come out on the other side, and then it was him, and I felt like this like moment. But emotion, I think everything is better with emotion. I had my I think that improvisers, I teach level 1 improv primarily, and middle schoolers and high schoolers. Those are the things I enjoy doing. And I try to encourage them, even if it's not, we talk about emotion, and then we talk about, and while it might not be authentic emotion, I do want them, sometimes I push them to just try an emotion and see how it
Mhm.
feels. And then sometimes it leads to an authentic emotion. And sometimes
Mhm.
if it doesn't, it's still enough. Um,
Mhm.
but I think that when you come out with a strong emotional choice, and I teach a lot of classes that are devoted entirely to starting with emotion as opposed to anything
Yeah.
else. Um, I think when you come in with anger, the second person has a natural tendency to either be angry at you or be the reason,
Mhm.
like to like be taking the anger. Um, I think when someone comes in sad, somebody else wants to come in and take care of them. When someone's laughing, the other person wants to be like, "Why are you making fun of me?"
Mhm.
With emotions, and I really try to push the fun and play of like matching emotions,
Oh, yes.
feeling feeling emotions together. Because even when they're not authentic emotions, because you're just matching whatever the other person was experiencing or
Yeah.
displaying in that moment, um, it's so much like going there with someone else like feels so good and ends up being like so like once you get permission from your scene partner to play,
Mhm.
like so if you come in and the first person's angry, what if the second person is just angry with them at the same thing, right?
Mhm.
And then it's not a conflict scene. And then I talk a lot to my students about the fact that we do long form. And also, I will say that people told me that I couldn't teach long form to middle schoolers. And I was like, and it's great. It's the best thing. But we teach them to look at the big picture. And so instead of me saying, I don't want arguing scenes, right? I say I want the tone and the emotion to differentiate and make a big stage picture of emotions throughout the whole piece. And that's why it's long form. Um,
Mhm.
so I asked them to think about like, okay, if the scene before you was two people arguing, great, maybe we need something different for the audience, right? They need to, in the same way you would get like olfactory fatigue if you're smelling the same
Mhm.
thing over and over again, like they
Mhm.
need to hear
Mhm.
different emotions and feel different vibes, just in the same way that they need to hear different voices and different characters and be in different places on the stage or on the screen or whatever medium we're in. Um,
Mhm.
so
I
I,
love this idea of matching emotion. Like it's
right,
something that when I in my curriculum before I even teach contrasting emotions or complementary emotions, right? We focus on just mirroring the emotion. And I'm trying to remember, I'm trying to remember which instructor put this in my head, but it was such a good lesson for me as a young improviser. This like and I remember they said that they were like it feels like you're cheating, but if you just mirror the emotion of the person on stage, it was somebody from Burn Manhattan. It might have been Kevin Scott
yeah,
or
that sounds like a Kevin Scott kind of thing.
yeah, and it was like
They always do that. Centralia and all of those guys are like,
yeah. And I
ugh,
feel like they were just like, it feels like you're cheating, but you're not. I mean, if you mirror that person's emotion, then the
yeah,
moment you walk on, you're gonna be right on the same page with them. There's no guessing. There's just like we're both feeling this emotion right
all
now.
together. It's like
That's
an
okay.
instant relationship scene as opposed to anything else. It's like, and that I think I teach. I mean, I guess we could say that like a lot of times I'm teaching there. I mean, people say sometimes that like this school teaches game, this school teaches relationship, this school teaches whatever. I don't know. I think if as a teacher, I think if I had to identify something, I would say that I teach relationship and emotion,
Yeah.
um, as the basis of um, improv, and also
Yep.
just like following. I do a lot of exercises where, oh man, this guy Mike Burton used to do this great exercise with us, where you just like lift. I think he probably got. I say that stuff and then I realize the people they got it from, I know them too. Where you just like you like imagine a situation like you like all that sense memory stuff, and then you pick your
Yeah.
head up and then the other person just like responds and you go with it.
Yes.
I love that. That's real what's really there. That is Centralia. That
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
yeah, mirroring.
Now, have you ever been exposed to the feelings wheel?
I don't know what the feelings wheel is.
Oh, okay. All right. Can I share it with you?
Yes,
Here,
please.
hold on.
Oh, I was
I'm
like,
gonna
it occurred to me about 30 seconds ago. Was like, oh, Will's gonna bust out some improv stuff that I don't know about. I'm gonna look like a weird.
So whenever I teach emotion, so what I usually start, as I said before, I start
Is it
with,
the same thing as blocks, feelings blocks,
oh, I don't
like rock?
know. It might be.
Yeah,
Here,
I might do it in blocks.
so I'll share the feelings will in a second.
Oh,
But yeah, it's like so after I get people, we spend a whole week on just like matching emotion, and it's like and you know we dip a little bit into emotional intelligence, like look at the other person, what are they feeling, what's going on, and then we start to go into all right, let's start to explore other emotions just to see what happens, like what character comes out of feeling these emotions, and this is what I share with them to inspire them. So let me just bring it up here. So
so excited.
so
Feel.
that's the feelings wheel.
Oh,
Yeah. So
whoa.
notice at the in the middle are like the core emotions.
Oh, wow. I'm so glad you use Bank of America too, because I do. Wow. This is
Oh, so
amazing.
that you're saying wow to my tabs that are
I'm
open.
joking. I'm joking. At least uh, wow.
Yeah, so that's
This
the
is
feelings wheel.
amazing. I
Yeah.
am
And
so,
if you go
oh, God, I need
if
this
you
feelings wheel. I feel like I can't believe I've been teaching emotions without a feelings wheel. It's like when you discover the spoon exists and you're like, what have I been eating ice cream with? Wow, feelings wheel. Love you.
So
Uh,
many flavors of emotions in that feelings wheel.
so good. Yeah,
Yeah.
that I do my emotional week. I call it I have little in my 8 week level 1 curriculum. I have little titles for each week, and I think
Mhm.
week week 1 is you is enough. It's behind me on the wall right there.
I love that. My my level one week one is called Your Authentic Self. And
It's
it's kind of
week 1. It's the
it
same.
is. It's like
Yeah, my
it's
first
a
ever
trust
class at the
yourself.
pit. My first ever class at the pit, I walked in and I said like, and I didn't intend this, but this is 100% true. Um, I said, yeah, it's all about your authentic self. Like I was calling it that, and I was
I
you is enough, right? You is enough to be entertaining for an audience. And one of the
love
girls in
that.
my class said, it's actually you are enough. And I was like, okay, well, it's you is enough forevermore. And like one of my classes, and I kept saying it. I have key I have students that have made me keychains that say it. One of my students in one of my class painted this, and it's like so flawed. As a person with like, I love organization, like I love like lines and putting things in their place. Like there should be a black line right there, or something like
Yeah,
that block shouldn't be white, and that's off center. And I freaking
exactly.
love it because it's
I
exactly
love it.
as it is. But you is enough is week 1. Week 2, I call it like yes and, right? We talk about yes and. Week 3 is called emotion. Feel something. Why don't you?
Okay, all right, you've got to stop. Okay, are you ready for my first 3 weeks?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, week one is your authentic self. Week two is saying yes. And week three is what we're doing today. Tell me how you feel.
I love it. I love it so much. Yeah. Now you know Will in my curriculum. Curricula.
I know, I
Uh,
always forget what to say.
that's amazing. But yeah, I think I had my I fiddle with everything when I'm anxious, and I'm anxious all the time. So I'm always fiddling. One of my first things I remember, the only thing close to a negative comment on a card, like that what I thought is a negative comment, um, on like a teacher evaluation thing once I saw it said like, Dana, just breathe. In one of the it was like, I think it was one of my first classes, and I have remembered that since. I've been like, yes. I make my class breathe a lot when they check in. I have them all like breathe together and like look at each other,
Mm,
and it's really nice because breathe, and I especially don't breathe. But again, we were talking about something, and now I've gotten us off track. I don't remember what it was. I love teaching. Emotion. Yeah, I really feel like um, tell me how you feel. I have a check-in at the top of every class. My middle schoolers today, because they're a little different than grown-ups, but my middle schoolers, this is like most of them are remote or hybrid, and only a couple of them are there at a time, so they're not really interacting with the other students. So this is like, and their day is asynchronous, so they don't see each other. So this is like social time and connection and human connection and improv all in one, and that's really what improv is anyway. So it's the perfect class. But I have them check in with some sort of emotion, like a prompt. So today's prompt was, this week, you would not believe, and then they can say whatever they want after that, but they have to say it with that emotion. So it can literally be like, I think my check-in was like, you look directly into the camera, because we try to simulate, you remember that time when we were on stage and there was light in our eyes, and we weren't looking at a picture of ourselves. So I have them go, hello, my name is Dana. I use she, her pronouns. And this week, you would not believe we ran out of toothpaste. Right? And some of them share really big things with like, you would not believe this week it was my parents' 40th wedding anniversary. Well, not because they're 11, but it could be something really huge, or it could be like, this week, you would not believe I slept one night for 7 hours, right? And it's just like getting them, if you have them. And this is the thing about like authentic emotion or not authentic emotion. If they all walk into the room and they've been in their house all day and are feeling crummy, same with my adults, anyone, and you have them do a prompt like that where they have to do that, some of that joy like gets into your body.
I love that.
Yeah, it's so true. It really is. Like even me just saying it, I mean, it's the same thing with like running. Haha, I got us there. Right? When you don't want to run and you go do it, then you're doing it, right? So I don't want to be joyous, but if we bring a little energy into this little quarantine bubble, then we are like, we'll get some of that energy. And they always like, the checkouts are always like, if we do a 0 to 5 feeling check-in and a 0 to 5 feeling check-out, my high schoolers are always like checking out at 5, and they're not like busting my chops. Is that a phrase? I don't know. I'm cool.
I think it still is a phrase. Yeah.
Right. That's like really how they feel, because we've instilled joy in the room, and even if we do stuff that isn't funny, it's still engaging. We're together. They're connecting. Like my grown-ups, we do a little bit more of a check-in, and sometimes people share heavy stuff and cry and check-in. And I remember when we were in class, and we did like really long stretches shares when I was taking class, and I was like, this teacher, why are we doing this for so long, right? And I don't do it that long, but especially in these remote classes, especially with my level 1 classes, because I really believe your level 1 classes stay with you for life, right? I still play with my people from my level 1 class on a team 10 years later, student driver. It's pretty nuts. It's 10-year-old indie improv team. That doesn't exist. But when they connect, when they tell each other how they feel as human beings, and then they know how to play with each other.
Yes. Yeah.
Like I have level 1 people. It started with Ali from the pits telling us we all had to do, as teachers, we had to have everyone do their elephant in the room, right? Whatever you have, and I always did that, but I never called it the elephant in the room. I always said like whatever you have to put down for the day, like either we vocalize it or physicalize it and like throw it into a circle, but you deal with your feelings for a second up top, or deal with gratitude, or deal with something, some feeling, and like connect as human beings, and then you can play together, because otherwise, you can go to jams and play with strangers and like learn a lot, and that's great too. But there's something really special you learn about when you're with a group that like understands each other's feelings and connects with each other, because that's why
Yeah.
improv's a team sport. I mean,
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah. I mean,
and that's
giving
why
yourself
running
that.
is a team sport too. True.
So is CrossFit. CrossFit's a team sport.
No, I know. I'm saying like it's a community, right?
No, I know. I know. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I agree.
I'm agree. I'm
I'm
saying,
I'm not telling you. I'm telling
yeah.
them.
Oh yeah, yeah. It is different. It's not. It looks like solo stuff, but it's all about the connection,
Yeah.
and it's really strange. Can I get really weird on you?
Please.
I went to This is so nuts. This is where my world. This is like the Venn diagram of running and improv and everything in my world. But I went to Hebrew high school. I practiced more Judaism than my family. Like we're all Jewish, but I was interested in it for the social side of it. I was like involved with youth group, and I remember when we graduated, we wrote this paper for our CM graduation, and it was like basically your like Hebrew high school graduation thesis. And I didn't really know what I thought about God, but I wrote this whole paper, and I should call it up. But I wrote a paper about, and I did not do improv until I was in my 30s. So I wrote a paper in high school about God being the connection between human beings, and that God wasn't a person or a being. It was like the actual connection between human beings. And that, oh man, I don't even sound like doesn't even sound like me talking, but that's what I wrote. And it's exactly how I feel about improv. It's exactly how I feel about running. It's like, it's the being of it and the love for it, and the thing that like the faith in it is about the connections between the human beings, which is why there's politics out in the world that's really upsetting to me, because that's not about the human beings. That's about money and guns and crap. And life is about human beings.
Yeah. Oh
People,
yeah.
relationships. And that's my school of improv.
So let me before we finish up for today, I
emotion?
want. You did. The number of times in that last statement that you used the word love, I mean, I lost count. You said it many, many times, and which leads me to my last question. Is there a preferred emotion that you like to play on stage? I say that because I know that there is one that I usually do, and sometimes my cast members or my friends will call me out on it. Is that I love being in love on stage, and I'm not talking.
We're the same person and the same height. It hasn't been so much in person improv. Great. I come out and usually I'm channeling my inner like nervousness and like what is my partner doing, and I end up just staring at my partner a lot, and it's like this and this and this, and so I end up being like an obsessed stalker a lot, because I'm like really interested in really in love with that person.
Yeah.
Like, too much. It's like joy. It's deep love. I love playing love. I love playing love.
I love playing. There's a workshop I teach called just falling in love on stage, and one of the things that I focus on, I kind of take the students through stages. Like one at the very beginning, we kind of look at like the honeymoon phase of characters, where like anything they do is just, oh, I love how you're like totally infatuated with that person at the beginning of the relationship. They can do nothing wrong, and then we eventually work our way to the end, where you're in love with the stupidest things. Like, it's not even anything that they're doing cute. It's just like the dumbest little things that they do. It's like, you're just like, oh, that's mine. Like, I just love how you do that. And
have you ever
so, yeah,
looked over at your partner or your animal or something and like looked at their leg and been like, that thigh is like a body part? Like, that little kitten head, I love it. I can't believe that's mine. That is
I totally get it.
oh, God. It's like, that's why people want to take bites out of babies, and it's that feeling I love this thing.
I think it was Radiolab. I think it was Radiolab, maybe, that did a short. They did an episode of just a bunch of shorts, and one of them was on why do we want to bite things that are cute, and like they broke it down, like they looked at like what other animals, non-humans do and stuff like that. And what they ended up with was that we see something that we love, and it's almost like we want it. We love it so much that we just want it inside of us. And so we just want to, like, I love this thing so much that I just want to bite it because I
Yeah.
want it. That's how much I love it.
Yeah. Oh man. You know what I just realized we didn't talk about as far as emotion goes,
Mm.
like the audience's experience of emotion,
Mm.
which is another huge thing I talk about in improv class. And it's always like one of the first things I said it this morning in a corporate workshop. Um, is that like uh, you can go out there and like not hear laughs sometimes, and you're like, oh, the audience
Mhm.
hates me. They like I'm not funny. I'm not, whatever. And then you like there's the other side of it where if they're leaned in and they're
Mhm.
like doing that with you, then
Yeah.
it doesn't matter that they're not making noise because they're like invested. Um, so I always that's why I love encouraging my students to use specifics. One, because they're funny,
Mhm.
but also because somebody out there is going to connect. And if you throw in like real truths of yours into your character on stage, then and you can see that emotion on stage. You can see when they like when it's like somebody's like raving about like a TV show that they love on stage. You see that, and then someone else in the audience is like, yeah, like,
Yes.
and that is like if you can make your audience feel anything, even if it's not laughter, like then you're set up because they're listening. And in the same way we want them to listen and respond on stage, then the audience is listening and responding because they're listening to you, and everything you say is funnier, and they'll respond to it because they're involved. That's all. So you want your audience to feel something too. I guess I feel like I talked in some circles,
Mhm.
but I'm cool with that. Will, are you frozen?
Mhm.
Did Will freeze or did I freeze?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I think we got off sync there for a second. I don't know if this is.
Just
Am
for a
I
second. I got most of it though.
cool?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
I got most of it. Uh, yeah. So in my level one, I do after emotion. A couple weeks after we like dig into emotion for a while, then we start to get into what the name of the week is articulation and specificity. So it's all about like being specific with your words, and I really just talk about like, okay, you have the engine of emotion, and then you put in like the traction of specificity, and then suddenly you're very similar to what you're saying, like then you hit this type of comedy. And I teach about, like, in the beginning anyways, in the beginner class, I teach about two types of comedy. One is like the surprise, like you take the audience at an unexpected turn, and it's like, whoa, wow, that's weird, and that's funny. But then the other one is where they actually resonate with you, they connect with you, and they're like, yes, I'm laughing because I totally resonate and understand this character right now.
And I think those scenes happen a lot in, like as you have an acting background. Is that correct? Am I correct? You were trained in
Yes.
acting stuff. We like most of us were, right? And we have these acting backgrounds, and we're trained that there's like conflict or drama in a scene, or like there's the climax of the scene, or whatever it is. And I think sometimes, and I've even had improv teachers that told me that scenes have to be like that. They have to have a turn
Mhm.
or a flip or something. But I think sometimes with those like real just like juicy slice of life scenes, those are the ones people get really invested
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
And I tell my students about this, like if we're in, especially as far as the form I do with them for their level one show, we're in those first like 3 or 4 meaty 2-person scenes, and and it's just a slice of life, and we're just getting invested in those characters. And that means we can, if they're like doing the lean in thing, if the audience is
Yeah.
in and everyone's being like real and actually just listening and responding to each other and being radically present. Shout out to Kathleen Carr for that phrase that I stole.
Ooh, love it.
I know,
Love that.
present. Oh, love it. Then the rest of it's gonna follow, and it's gonna pay off at the end of the show, big time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like improv.
Well, Dana, I have got another show in 5 minutes,
Oh, go to
but
it.
thank you so much.
Thanks, Will.
Do you want to say anything before we sign off?
You can find me at www.danashulman. There's no C in Shulman. .com. I'm at Socially Distant Improv on the Instagram and Facebook. I teach for the Pit in New York City. So take my class, www.thepit-nyc.com/classes. And I run Student Driver, which is one of the longest running shows at the Pit, and the hosts of the 11-year-old Independence Day Festival. And we can't wait till we're all back together again. And thank you. And shout out to Comedy Sports and all those other fantastic people I play with and opening act and Manhattan Youth and people I teach for. And I'm thankful to you and everyone from the panel and Katie Prue and everyone who got us all together in this world. Thanks, Will.
Thank you so much, Dana, and thank you everybody for watching. Again, another FSC Improv interview. We're gonna, of course, archive this, and we'll do also a condensed cut, so you could hear us talking more and more about using emotion in a scene. So thank you very much for watching, everyone. We'll be back next Friday. I'll be announcing our guests soon, and just as Dana's sign says, and scene. Thank you, everybody.